part of the Press Play Podcast Network.
This episode was presented by Water Heaters Now. If you are in Central Ohio and you have suddenly lost your hot water or feel as though your water isn't as hot as it should be, contact Water Heaters Now. You will not be disappointed with their service, and they are super relational, let me tell you, which is important to me and my family because the professionals are coming into our home. We want to make sure that they're nice and generous, and you won't find a more nice or generous company than Water Heaters Now. But don't take it from me. Hear what they have to say.
Thanks for calling Water Heaters.
Can't do it. My shower just felt like an ice cream truck. How many days until you can replace my water heater?
Ma'am, it's 1:53 p.m.
Thanks for that. But did you hear the part about the snowstorm in my shower?
I did, and I hope you wore galoshes. Ma'am, this is Water Heaters Now, though. So if you order by 2 p.m., we're going to fix your problem the same day.
Sir, I just wrestled a freezing polar bear. Are you messing with me?
No, ma'am. I think my grandma would beat me up if I messed with you.
Okay. Am I going to pay extra for this magical speed trick?
No, ma'am, you're not. The price is going to be very fair. Here's the deal. We literally only do one thing. Water heaters. And we're old school. We use long-lasting heaters. No hassle, no mess, right price, real fast. And we can do all that because it's all we do.
Okay, let's do this.
River listeners, when your water heater leaves you cold, you just want it fixed now. We've installed 5,000 heaters in 5 years with 900 5-star reviews. So when the time comes, solve your water heater problem with Water Heaters Now.
Contact Water Heaters Now by going to the website www.waterheatersnow.com. That's waterheatersnow.com, where you can click the link in my show notes. Welcome to the Chase Smith Podcast, a conversation on current events and culture. We are proudly part of the Press Play Podcast Network, empowering diverse voices to launch professional, engaging podcasts. With me today, a very special guest, and this is really cool to say. He's the director and writer of Missing, out in theaters right now, starring Storm Reed as June, Ken Leung, Tim Griffin and Nia Long, Will Merrick. Will, congratulations on the movie, man. This is incredible.
Hey, Chase, thank you so much for having me.
No, thank you for being on the show. So this is an incredible moment. Will was one of my students in North Carolina, first started in ministry. And a couple years in, we got really excited for Will because you went off to film school out at USC, which was not just any film school, Will. It was Steven Spielberg and George Lucas's film school, which is a pretty big deal.
Yep, USC, the West Coast USC. It was exciting.
And here you are, man, releasing a film, wide distribution, going up against movies like Avatar and all these Oscar nominated movies. And there is your film. This isn't the first film you've worked on, this first feature film you worked on. This is actually a sequel of a film you worked on in 2018 called Searching with John Cho and Deborah Messing. Will, it is so cool to see you be able to have this reach and impact in the theater community. And these are incredible movies. So just congratulations, man. Just right at the gate. It is so much fun. And we have cheered you on every step of the way. So good job by you, man. This is so cool.
Thank you so much. I mean, it really means a lot to be able to not only, do all the things you said and have the movie coming out in theaters, but it's just crazy to be talking to you right now after, I was a teenager going to youth group.
Yeah. I mean, probably 10 years ago, at least.
Yeah. Yeah. I think more at this point, or at least, yeah.
Well, we don't have to make me sound that old, but
it's kind of quick when you think about it to go from a teenager there. And then now here we are.
Yeah. Well, how many people are accepted into the film school, which is, that was correct in saying Lucas and Spielberg kind of came from there, right?
Yeah.
How many students do they accept every year into that program?
I wish I could tell you. I'm guessing right now, so you would really have to fact check me. But sure. I think it's around 200, and it's around 60 that get into the production program, which is the one I was in. They have 5 arms. They also do interactive media, like video games. Mm-hmm. They do animation, and they do critical studies. But the film production, and they do screenwriting, and the film production part specifically, I think took about 60 a year when I was there. I'm not sure what they do now.
And what would you say would be the percentage of graduates that actually get a red carpet premiere and like wide distribution?
as directors, pretty low.
Yeah.
It's kind of crazy that this happened. As far as working in the film industry in some way, I'd say a good portion.
Sure.
I think most people, the closer you get sort of to the industry, I think most people decide they don't actually want to be actors because there are certain lifestyle downsides, I guess you could say.
Sure. Is this something that you like see yourself doing for the like next 5, 10, 15, 25, 30 years? Like Will Merrick, director?
So.
That is so
It's kind of always, I mean, you know, I think a lot of people go in, it's always what you want. I mean, it's, you know, at first you see it and it's the first, everybody wants to do it because it's the first thing you see when the credits go. But I think when I found out what it actually was and actually entailed, I was like, this is actually what I want to do separate from that. And yeah, I mean, this was always the goal and it still is.
So what about it was so enticing? Is it the fact that you get to kind of control who and what and where and why, or what do you think about it? Like was so like, oh my gosh, this is it. This is where I want to be.
I think it reflects what I was already doing even back when we were hanging out when I was like a kid, basically. So it kind of, I started making little movies with my family. My mom and dad and sister acted in them and were incredibly supportive. I later realized for being in these. And so I was kind of, before I was almost making movies before I even became a movie fan. It just was this like fun thing that I would do as a kid. And so I feel lucky in the sense that I guess people liked them and people gave me validation for making them. So it felt natural to keep doing them. And so in that way, I kind of back to it. It wasn't, I don't think I saw a movie necessarily and was like, I want to do something like that. It just sort of, I like directing because it lets me do what I've always been doing as an adult. Yeah.
That is so cool. I want to talk about Missing later, but I just think your journey to there, you know, I just want to catch up, man. So like, what were some pretty major points in your journey to be directing a major motion picture? Would you say like from like graduation to there, like to kind of walk us through like your journey in that? Because I don't think people, you know, it's just, oh, there's a new director, and they don't think about like what were some major points in that journey.
It's hard. If anybody asks for advice directing it, it's very hard because I know that's not your question, but it's very hard because there's no path that reliably takes you to this place. And mine was really kind of strange and interesting because I came through editing. You mentioned Searching, which Missing is kind of a spiritual sequel to Searching. You don't have to have seen Searching, but you can. Both are told all through computer screens. That one, I graduated film school. I spent about 8 months editing little commercials, videos, stuff like that. And then some you could call them friends, but we weren't, you know, college hangout friends. We were more college, almost sort of, I guess, peers, colleagues type college relationship. They were a couple years older than me. Had this project Searching that was in development, and I was becoming known for kind of editing. And so they asked me to cut a proof of concept for this movie. That ended up getting the movie made. It was still a tiny movie.
So for the people listening, what's a proof of concept?
Sorry. Yeah. A proof of concept is, it can be, it is anything that is meant to prove that the movie you're pitching is viable and show people what they'll actually be seeing when they watch the movie. And in this case, it took the form of a fake trailer for the movie almost.
Is that with the real actors or actresses, or is that just with stand-ins?
It can be. This one was not, but we did actually end up putting the stand-ins in bit roles in the movie.
Oh, that's cool.
Shout out. And they're actually in Missing still.
That's amazing.
Missing as well. So there was that proof of concept. We got the movie made. It was a tiny movie made for well under $1 million. So it was tiny even so. So it's not like I'd hit the big time or anything by doing that, but I was editing a movie, which was awesome. And then that movie got accepted into Sundance and got international distribution. And the way the editing the really unique part of this journey to directing, I guess, is that because that movie was all told on computer screens, the role of editor was way bigger than it would normally be. And the role of, people already underestimate the role of editor, by the way, but editing that movie, if you watch the trailer or watch the movie, you can tell is basically animating in a lot of ways. You have to animate the mouse pointer. You have to create all these graphics because nothing in the movie is screen recorded. It's all graphically designed and created.
This is in Searching and Missing, but we're talking about Searching right now. Yeah.
So I was in this funny position editing Searching where I knew everything about how to create visually a movie that is way more than just assembling live action. Yeah. And because it's sold on computer screens, also the director of that movie didn't want to do another movie through this like style, some would say gimmick, but you know, I think if you watch it, you'll have a good time. Yeah. He didn't want to do another movie told through computer screens. And so me and my kind of creative partner on that one, Nick, were kind of well positioned, I guess, to be the directors because people knew we could create the visuals. It was kind of as simple as that.
That is so cool. And just how, you know, my knowledge and experience, and you know, I've never been out in LA, but you know, you've done it once and you've done it well. So now that opens the door for more opportunities down the road to, you know, hey, I've done this now. Oh, okay. We've seen Will do this. And not only did he do it, but he did it well. And it received a great, you know, score and people liked it. And it you know, was in the black. So, you know, I can't wait to see what doors this opens for you, Will. Have you already started to see more doors just in the week or so, or week and a half it's been out? Have you already started to see more conversations and maybe more emails? I mean, obviously the Chase Smith podcast, but
I mean,
I'm totally joking.
We're talking. We're I mean, you know, it's fun. I mean, doing stuff like this is already really awesome. As far as creating what's next, I do feel a lot more possibility. We worked kind of right up to the wire with this movie, so I've kind of been taking a little break, honestly, and watching what happen and talking to people. But I think, especially watching the box office, which I think is a lot of what really matters to people if they want to help you make another one. Yeah, I think the future is looking good. Just got to come up with that next thing.
Yeah, and you know, I know creatives, you probably have a notebook of, you know, half-baked ideas, maybe something you're really passionate about and things like that. So I can't wait to hear what's next, Will. Can we talk about Missing? Yeah.
Oh yeah. Let's get into it.
Hey, let's take a quick break. And whenever we come back, Will Merrick, director, we're going to talk about his movie in theaters right now, Missing. Stick around on the Chase Smith podcast. We'll be right back.
Hey everyone, it's JD from the Hyman Podcast. Backed by popular demand, I'm excited to let you know that new episodes of the Hyman Podcast will drop every other Monday on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or wherever you listen to your podcasts. We're going to continue the conversations we started last season and keep having those hard conversations. There is so much in store for you this season, and I'm excited to share it with you. Subscribe today so you don't miss a single moment. The Hyman Podcast, part of the Press Play Podcast Network.
Hey everyone, this is Don Mike Mendoza, the host of Producing While Asian. Join us in Season 2 for more conversations with actors, artists, producers, and more from Broadway, Hollywood, and beyond, every other Wednesday on the Press Play Podcast Network.
Hello, Brooks here with the Books with Brooks monthly book club podcast. Here's how Books with Brooks works. We read one book a month, and then we talk about it. Classics like Stephen King's The Shining, debut novels like We Are the Brennans by Tracy Lang, and tons of other compelling, life-changing stories, one book and 1 month at a time. So come read along with us and then listen in.
We are excited to announce that we are joining the Press Play Podcast Network. The Krypton Report podcast is dedicated to all things Superman, Supergirl, and the planet Krypton. We discuss movies, TV, game, comics, and all things DC.
So join me, Tyler, with my co-host James and Jania.
So join us as we explore DC's multiverse.
Look for Krypton Report on all social media platforms.
All right, we're back here on the Chase With podcast. Will Merrick, director of Missing Will. Leslie and I we saw Searching in theaters, and we cheered for you, and it was a lot of fun. But that was a very, as we talked about, like a very new concept. And I don't want to call it a gimmick because it was, I thought, brilliant. It's brilliant how you guys tell this story through screens. But this movie, people, who were aware of Searching and knew how to receive the story. This is a very different movie than Searching. Will, people cheered in our theater. People cheered. I heard some gasps, and it was just so much fun. It was a great crowd. I think movies and roller coasters can really, whoever you watch a movie with and whoever you ride a roller coaster with, it can really make or break a movie. And we had a great theater for your showing, Will, and it was so much fun to cheer. I yelled out at the end, "I know Will Merrick!" And we all cheered and clapped. It was so much fun. But no, it was a ton of fun. Was there a particular scene in the movie that you just like really enjoyed directing and working on?
Oh man, when you say it, oh no, this would be a spoiler. Oh man, truly there were so many. I'm trying to think what they were. I know a lot of very challenging scenes, but as far as the fun ones, I think anything involving this character Javi, who comes in,
yes,
who helps her out in Colombia, was really, really fun to make. Just everything about that character really came together and flowed together naturally.
Did you go to Colombia to film on location?
We did, and it was during pretty peak COVID, and so we had to wear the face shields and the masks, all this stuff. But the crew in Colombia was awesome. I mean, we didn't have any issues with it. It just made production more complicated.
Yeah. So you recorded this in 2020, 2021, and finally releasing. People, I don't know if people realize like that. What would you say was like the average like time a movie takes to be released like this?
It's all over the place. I hear people say 2 years a lot of the time, from including the writing through production, through the edit, all of that. It can take 10 years for a project to get developed, but we spent almost 3 years truly working full time and then some on this movie. So it was on the long side for sure. And that's because of the complicated animation and graphics of it all.
Yeah.
The shoot was short. The shoot was under a month, including going to Colombia. But then we just came back and just worked in the office, editing
it out. Yeah.
Yeah.
One of my favorite parts in the movie is how you transition from one media source to another without people knowing. Like you're watching a computer screen, but now somehow it changed to a TV show or like a news clipping, right? And that was very clever how it's done. And it was just so cool to witness that. Like, oh wow, now we're here, and because it's all told on a screen, it seemed like you had to be really creative in how do we go from screen to screen, or how do we advance the narrative through screens. And I thought you guys did that brilliantly. That was fantastic. And it was cool to watch that.
Everything is told entirely through screen. Some people think we cheat sometimes, but we never do. And, going back to the whole gimmick thing of it all, I think the gimmick has been done. I mean, there have been movies. For a while, it was cool to show that you could, in fact, tell a whole movie on computer screens. But I think now everybody knows that. So the stuff you said about smoothly moving between one app and another, where maybe sometimes you don't even know where you are unless you were to go back and scrub the movie and break it down. We just decided we didn't want to worry too much about showing exactly how every scene was told. We want to like truly live in that computer screen thing, because that has never quite been done before fully.
Yeah, I'm so glad you mentioned Javi, because I think he won the movie. I think you're asking just like who's everyone's favorite, I think he's going to be the favorite. He was fantastic.
I mean, from the outline stage, he was he had already won the movie.
So you knew from the very beginning that he's going to be a great character.
You know that picture of him that you see when the little selfie of him in the water?
Yeah.
We had a picture that we shot during production, but it wasn't quite working, and we wanted a picture of him a little younger, and so we emailed him, the actor Joaquim D'Almeida, who is in some of the Fast and Furious movies, 24. He's in a lot, but we emailed him and asked him, "Do you have any pictures we could use?" And he sent us that picture, and we immediately knew that was him. That was Javi.
That's amazing. Yeah, he was fantastic and really good rapport with Miss Reed. I thought they played off each other well and able to tap into, their relationship in the movie is really unique, right? They don't know each other, but like it's for hire, but then it can become something more. And they had to navigate that in this really, and I thought they did an excellent job, because I think that relationship has to work. Like they have to connect, and they have to trust each other, and they have to almost like this out of a goodwill. I'm going to help this person because I can tell she's kind of in a place that she just needs someone to help her. And like that has to work for some of the things to happen. And it works so well, man. I think that, I don't know, that was very special, very cool to see. And the nice callback at the end too. That was nice.
Thank you. Something nice that both actors did, Storm and Joaquim did, was since they never actually appear in the same shot together, they didn't get to act across from each other in a physical sense, but both of them either called in or came into set. Storm called into Colombia, and Joaquim visited set, even though he wasn't physically in any takes that day, so that they could sit in another room and read across from each other, so they could have chemistry in the scene.
No way.
Some actors don't. There's some actors, some big actors who kind of famously don't do that because they're kind of too important for it or whatever. But sure. I think it was really generous and nice of them to work that way, and you feel it in the movie.
Oh, it paid off, and I mean, you're rooting for that the entire movie, right? Like you want that relationship to work, and I think we're doing a good job not spoiling the movie if people haven't seen it. Well, I'm impressed so far.
I think we have. I think we're pretty good. The trailer did way more. I should mention the trailer doesn't spoil the movie at all, even though
it doesn't. Was that something that was it hard to do the trailer without giving too much of the surprises away?
It's tricky because you want people to know that this is going to be a movie with twists and turns. So in a way it was tricky to decide exactly what to give away, but at the same time, this movie has some of the most twists I think I've ever heard of in a movie before. So it's kind of loaded. So we did at least have the luxury of not having to put them all in, It was so fun, because as you're watching it, you want to guess along and be like, no, don't do that. Or yeah, go do that. Or no, this person's bad. Or no, this person's bad. And it kind of can go a lot of different ways, but there's definitely a turning point in the movie where like, oh, okay. I like, there's a point where all the pieces come together, and it's pretty shocking. That point surprised me. To where the movie kind of shifts and all the pieces are revealed, and you're like, oh, okay, this is let's see what happens from here. When was that twist? Was that from the very beginning, or was there a piece of the puzzle that was really hard to figure out that you're just like had to kind of really like, okay, let's figure this out? Or was it kind of all there at the jump? That we always knew that's where we were headed. Okay. Me and my co-director Nick got an outline from the writers of the original movie, Anish and Sev, who also directed and were one of the producers respectively. So they wrote an outline to this, and that final sort of culmination was always part of it. So I'm not sure when they thought of that, but we always had it and we're working with it. There were other parts that and ways it was told that were kind of tricky to figure out along the way. There's a friend that Grace has, a main character has, or the mom has, that kind of went through many different iterations along the way. Okay. But I feel like we're trying not to spoil this right now. So
yeah, we're doing a good job. I don't want to spoil it because I feel like I'm going to have some people check the movie out after this podcast, and I want them to enjoy the movie.
You really want to be guessing. You want to not know. You do. Yeah.
Guessing. Trilogy right there it is. Guessing.
Searching. Missing guessing. The Ing trilogy.
So, you mentioned this is a spiritual successor to Searching. If you haven't seen Searching, go check that out. That is a joy as well. Have there been talks of finishing a trilogy, Will? Or like Is it just kind of like two and stand alone and this is good? Or
it's really hard to say right now. There's no immediate plans to make a third. I think if the kind of collective will came together to make a third, it probably would happen from the financial side.
Mm-hmm.
But these movies are very, very hard to make and take a lot out of you. So I guess personally, I'm really excited to do some live action.
Sure.
But I don't know. It could happen. It could not.
What's your dream live action movie, Will?
No. It kind of depends on what kind of time horizon we're talking about. I think next Nick and I are probably going to direct and write another one together. And we have been getting excited lately about a monster movie, kind of like The Thing, something like that, or maybe a chase movie, kind of like Mad Max Fury Road, but obviously we wouldn't have that kind of budget yet. But I think after doing a movie like this, that's a detective, very plot heavy, kind of mystery with a lot of different threads running and discoveries, we want to do a heart pounding, constantly life and death stakes, just very immediate, visceral feeling movie.
Well, I am there, and just whatever your name's on, Will, you can count on me to go check it out, man. That is just so freaking cool. Have you met Spielberg or Lucas? Like, have there been any interactions? Because he's my all-time favorite director.
I've not. I feel like I'm 1 degree removed from him in some way.
Yeah.
I met Robert Zemeckis.
Okay.
Forrest Gump director.
Yeah.
Back to the Future.
Yeah.
Met him during USC. I've met maybe fewer. The actors of this movie are probably some of the probably my largest group of famous people I've actually met. Just working out here, living the life.
Very cool, man. When we watch these movies, and I can't remember if we touched on this in the first half or before we recorded, Leslie came down. And because it was so good to see you, Will, we just talked for, 10, 20 minutes before we recorded. You put little Easter eggs in these movies about growing up in North Carolina or having your own family members in the movie. Your mom, your sister and mom were in Searching, right? Is that right? Your sister's in, and then your mom and sister and dad are in Missing. We missed your dad and your sister in Missing, but we did see your mom. We were excited about that. And then in Missing, someone's scrolling through their phone and there was a missed call from someone in Salisbury, North Carolina, which is where you were born and raised. And that's where it shows up. Yeah. Where we served for 5 years. Were there any other Easter eggs that I missed that you put in there, or do I need to go and watch it again?
I mean, the movie is just completely loaded with Easter eggs. As far as shout outs, there's probably a few more that I can't think of at the moment. A few more, sort of to my upbringing and hometown and stuff. There's a I'm always hesitant to talk about it because I like people to find it for themselves, but there's a whole alien through line where in Searching. In the background, it's a story about a missing person, a missing girl, and her dad is looking for her. But in the background, in news headlines and things that your eye would never catch, the world is making first contact with aliens. And that story continues in Missing in an unexpected way.
So they're the same universe.
Yes, they are. They take place very much in the same universe. There's even some recurring bit characters. There's news anchors from Searching that you'll see in this movie. Margot's friend, Abby, who pretends to have been a better friend with her in Searching to get kind of the social clout, appears in this movie as kind of a pop social writer, I guess you could say, / TikToker. So people, it's in the same universe. No direct connection of the main characters, but it's in the same world.
Very cool. Very cool. Well, Will, I'm glad we're in the same world here, man. This has been such a great conversation. So cool. Thank you so much for coming on the podcast. Dude, I can't wait to see what's next for you and for you to crack into that dream binder or journal of ideas and just get to tell your stories, man. They've always been great and you do such a good job. So proud of you, bro. You do incredible stuff.
Thank you, man. Thank you, Chase. It's really great to be talking again and I'm very excited.
Yep. Well, that does it for this episode of the Chase Smith Podcast. Thank you all so much for downloading and listening. Shouts to our sponsors, Water Heaters Now. Check them out, waterheatersnow.com. Shouts to the Press Play Podcast Network for making this possible. Follow us online at Press Play Pods. You can visit our website at pressplaypodcast.com to keep up with all of our shows, news, network news, and sponsorship information. If you enjoyed today's episode, just do me a solid and leave a review. It doesn't really do anything for the pod other than it helps other people say, oh, hey, that pod must be pretty good, and helps them check it out. I really appreciate it. Will, how long is Missing going to be in theaters, my man? Do you know that, or is it just dependent on like how it does and a couple other factors?
That all depends on if you and your friends go see it.
All right. So listen, everyone right now, go see Missing in theaters. It is so much fun. And you're gonna have a great time. You need to go in the theater because it's such a fun experience. So go in the theater, check it out, and support Will Merrick and his friends. Do an awesome job. Will, thank you so much.
Thank you, Chase.
Yeah, we'll talk soon. See ya.